Hello friends again. It's Jeff, back again. It's my second video of the day. I'm taking advantage of the alone time that I have here in the house, and I'm cranking out a couple of contest videos. So this contest entry is for another newer vinyl channel. It's called Dan's Vinyl Channel, and he's just passed the 100 subscriber mark. So congratulations, Dan. He's got a very nice channel. He's got a great voice for doing videos like this. It's very fun to listen to, great musical taste, and he's running a contest celebrating passing 100 subs, which is a big milestone to pass. So it seems like it takes forever to get that first 100, and then after that, your channel just seems to blow up from there. So that's what I'm hoping to do. Happy to support his channel, happy to enter the contest. So I will post a link to the contest video in question down below, like usual, and check out his channel and maybe even get in the contest if you want to. This contest is, the theme is all about change, whether it's change in a band's lineup, say, or change in a musical direction for an artist, or it could be something even more personal. I didn't really go the personal route with changes, but I've got 5 albums here that I think will stick to the theme pretty well. So I'm going to get right to it. Now, when you talk about changes in music, there's a handful of records out there that I think are pretty obvious in what they did for music, in this case, rock and roll. So that's why I'm going with Elvis. His first album, I call this the Big Bang of rock and roll because he did so much to change music and musical directions from this album on that I think a lot of his influence gets underrated these days. I think people just take him for granted. You know, they think of him just as the old, I mean, not old, but, you know, the fat guy in the jumpsuit doing the karate moves. Oh, thank you very much. I prefer my Elvis from the 50s from this, when he was young and energetic and raw, and it's just him and 2 guys in a recording studio just cranking out music, blending genres, creating a new genre, and just killing it with immense talent. So that's pretty much how I prefer to remember Elvis. I mean, to me, he's got the voice of God. So if God could sing, he would sound like Elvis to me. There's no doubt. And this album changed everything for a lot of people, without a doubt. So Elvis's first album, this should be in everyone's collection. I mean, it's just got so much classic material on it. It's vibrant, it's raw, it's energetic, it's rocking. Without this record, without Elvis, I don't think we would be here. The world would not be where we're at now in terms of music. Someone like Elvis had to come along to change things, to make things more the way they are now. And this album does that in spades. So this is the first of my 5 Agents of Change albums, I guess you could call it. Another artist who didn't really stay in any one genre at all is David Bowie. Now, I usually, if I'm going to show a Bowie album, I probably would show like Station to Station. You know, I've said many times before that's my favorite Bowie, but actually this and like his Berlin trilogy, which this is the first album of, is right up there with Station to Station. This was Bowie's famous collaboration with Brian Eno, and he's really creating art rock, you know. Here's the back, pretty just basic back cover. But Bowie was restless. He was never in one genre for long. He was always bouncing around, trying different things out, and he had the talent to make it his own and to make it good. So, um, this is Bowie's modus operandi. You know, he was always changing, whether it was glam rock, plastic soul, you know, as he called his Young Americans album, proto disco like Station to Station, art rock like Low, and Heroes, which would come after it. You know, even his dance records like Let's Dance, he made his own. So, um, yeah, Bowie's whole career is based on change. So this is my representative album of that, which is Low, which is a fantastic album. Fantastic album. Love this. Love this record. I need to play it again. In terms of his career and in terms of his music, All Things Must Pass by George Harrison represented the biggest change for him in his career and his music. Because by the end of the Beatles' career, you know, George was right up there with John and Paul in terms of songwriting and instrumentation. I mean, he was writing some pretty killer tracks as the Beatles were ending. And this album is the result of so many tracks that he'd written that he just couldn't get onto Beatles albums. So this is kind of like the Big Bang of George's career. I mean, it's chock full of just great stuff. I mean, I don't think you can really pick a dog track on this album. And it's a triple album, but the third disc is like just a live jam. But the first two records in this set are pretty killer. And this is my favorite album by a solo Beatle, by far. I mean, McCartney's Band on the Run comes a close second, but boy, in terms of making four sides of just all killer, no filler, this one gets my vote. And George really became more famous than any of the other three during this period based on this album. So, in terms of career change and musical change and just freedom, All Things Must Pass certainly qualifies for George in his career, I think. Then, in terms of these last two are going to be change in direction of sound by these respective artists. First, I'm going with Bruce Springsteen. This is album Nebraska. You know, all throughout his career up to this point, you know, Bruce made these big sounding records, you know, these rock anthems, these very danceable, you know, tracks, and these epic lyrics, epic music, you know, big soundstage. And then 1982, he came out with this album, which is very quiet. It's acoustic. It's very dark. It's very grim. And it's riveting stuff. I mean, I know he's made other albums kind of like this. You know, like I'm thinking of like Devils and Dust or Ghost of Tom Joad. But man, for my money, you just can't beat Nebraska for this type of sound. And I mean, even the album covers are pretty plain and stark. You know, like even this picture. It's just, I think of black and white whenever I hear anything off this record. I need to play this record again, too. It's been a while since I've listened to it. But in terms of sound, I mean, when you think of what came before this, which was The River, you know, which was this big sprawling double album with, you know, all of these rocking tracks. And then what came after this one, which was Born in the USA, which was more of the same. This is kind of an anomaly in his career, but it also showcased another side of Bruce that enlightened the rest of his career, I would think, you know, especially after Born in the USA. It's like he wasn't afraid to go it alone and not have the big band behind him. So this is easily one of Bruce's best albums. It stands tall with all of his other classics, if you ask me. Nebraska. Great stuff. And in that same vein is the Style Council. This is the album called My Ever-Changing Moods, featuring, of course, Paul Weller, who had just broken up the Jam, which is one of my all-time favorite bands. And, you know, the Jam they started out, you know, in the punk era in '77, playing this very jittery, energetic, in-your-face music. And then by the early to mid-'80s, Paul Weller morphed his sound more to the smooth soul. I guess I would call this like a smooth soul album. When he formed the Style Council after breaking up the Jam. Here's the back. This isn't a perfect album by any means, but there are several killer tracks on here that make it well worth the listen. I'm a fan of the Style Council too. I'm a fan of Paul Weller, of anything he's in general. But, I mean, this isn't a front-to-back classic, but I still like it. So, referencing I Like It, the other contest that was just going on. Anyway, definitely a left turn in terms of his sound, and I'm sure it surprised a lot of people. But Paul Weller's certainly talented enough to pull it off, and I thought he did with the Style Council. I thought he pulled it off with them before going solo. So this was my fifth choice for my Agents of Change theme for this contest. So there you go. Hope you enjoyed this video, Dan. I hope it follows the parameters of your contest. I'm pretty sure it does. Everybody else, like I said, do yourself a favor. Check out Dan's Vinyl channel. And maybe get in on the contest too and have some fun. So, all right, guys, that's going to be it for me for now. Hope everyone is enjoying this lovely weather. It's finally decent weather here in Chicago. And I will see you all again hopefully soon. So until then, take care, peace, and I will see you.